Alright, for this particular video, you are going to need today we're going to talk about another celestial body that is directly linked to Earth and how it also moves through space. So we're going to start off by drawing an Earth in the center of our page here. I'm going to put a line straight down the middle and show that half of Earth is always having night and half of Earth is having day. Alright, today we're going to talk about that celestial body known as the moon and its movements around the Earth. And we know from earlier that when something goes around something else, it's called revolve. And the path that it takes is known as its orbit. Alright, so I'm going to take and I'm going to draw 8 moons around the Earth here, not because there are 8 moons, but because I want to show you what it looks like at 8 different locations around the Earth. So now imagine at those original, almost like if we divided into fourths, at those original 4 locations that I drew there, how about we draw an extra moon on the outside just to show what the moon is constantly looking like in those locations. Alright, now it looks like we have all kinds of stuff going on here, a bunch of circles around the Earth. Just bear with me, you'll understand here. So those ones we just drew on the outside, let's cut those in half, all right, and show that half of the moon is always lit up and half of it is always in the shadow. So regardless of where the moon is around the Earth, half of it is always lit up and half of it is dark, just like the Earth. So if we are standing here on Earth, first of all, are we in day or night? Obviously this is day, good job. And if we look out at this moon here, the moon is between the sun and the Earth. So which side of the moon would we see? Well, we'd be trying to see the shadowed or dark side of the moon, and it would be during the daytime. And since all we'd be looking at is the half of the moon that is dark, we really wouldn't see anything. So this phase of the moon looks completely dark. And it happens during the daytime. This is known as a new moon. So as the moon goes around the Earth, we begin to see a little bit of the moon being lit up. Now be very careful here, draw it exactly as I did. So this here, we would see a lit up portion on the right side of the moon. And this shape is known as a crescent. So this moon is known as a waxing crescent. That's because the shape that the moon appears to be in is a crescent shape. Now you might be asking, what about this waxing? Well, as the lit up side of the moon appears to be growing in size, we call those waxing moons because the lit portion is growing. So the one way I remember it is by saying light on the right is waxing, because when the lit up side of the moon is on the right hand side, it's a waxing moon. So light on the right is waxing.
When the light is on the right, it's waxing. When the light is on the right, it's waxing. When the light is on the right, it's waxing. When the light is on the right, it's waxing. When the light is on the right, it's waxing. When the light is on the right, When the light is on the right. When the light is on the right.
It's waxing, it's waxing, it's waxing.
This moon, once again, we would see primarily during daytime hours and maybe a little bit into some of the evening hours. All right, now if we looked out at this moon, you would think that we would see the left side of the moon being lit up, but imagine you're here though and you're looking out at it, so it is going to look like half of the moon is lit. But remember, this is a waxing moon, so the light is on the right. Now, even though it looks like half of the moon is lit up, that's not really true. Half the moon's always lit up. It looks like half of a circle is lit up, but this isn't called a half moon. This is actually called a first quarter moon. And the reason why it's called a first quarter is because it is a quarter of the way around the Earth. So as we make our way around, do you see how the lit up side of the moon is growing in size? That's why we call it waxing. Here, what we're going to see is most of the moon is being lit up here, or it seems that we see most of the moon being lit up. And this moon, once again, we're going to go back to the waxing, is called a waxing gibbous. You see like a little sliver of the shadowed portion of the moon that we would see there. This moon here you would see primarily in the evening hours. You would see it during our nighttime hours. So do you see how the lit up side of the moon is growing or waxing in size? Now imagine standing here looking out at this moon. Which half of the moon would you see? The entire half that is being lit up. So this moon looks like the entire thing is being lit up. This is probably some of your favorite, the full moon. And that is because we were seeing the full half of the moon that is lit up. All right, so all of these moons here are known as waxing because they are growing in the size of the lit portion of the moon that we see. And after we get to full, it begins to wane away, or the size of the lit up portion of the moon begins to shrink. But here our light was on the right, and we remember that light on the right is waxing. On the other side, the lit up portion is now on the left. And this would be opposite of a waxing gibbous. This is known as a waning gibbous. A waning gibbous. As we move forward, once again, we're going to be opposite of the first quarter. So our first quarter had light on the right. Here we're going to have light on the left. And if you looked out at this moon here from here, you would see exactly that. This is known as a third quarter. And I'm sure you guys can guess, as we come around, you see how the lit up portion of the moon is waning away. We get to the final moon phase, and it is the opposite of a waxing crescent. This would be a waning crescent. A waning crescent. So there you have it. As the moon revolves around the Earth, we see different shapes of the lit portion of the moon, which we call phases. My question for you is, how long does it take for the moon to revolve around the Earth one time? And how is it related to its rotation?
Light is on the right.